Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Civil Law, and welcome to the Sarah Boone Sentencing Spectacular. Yes, my friends, Sarah Boone, the woman who lighted all of our hearts, the woman who told us all the things in letters and in testimony about her life, is facing sentencing today. How sad for her. And she shoved her boyfriend into a suitcase and then mocked him as he suffocated to death. We watched the video. It was somewhat jarring, to be honest. And I imagine that the video may make an appearance in the sentencing itself. It wouldn't surprise me if the judge actually reviews it again. Although it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't. But, we're going to have the sentencing today. Potential victim impact statements. I believe the prosecutor said they expected 2. And then we're also expecting the defense to put on an expert witness about psychological stuff or something. So we're expecting the sentencing to take about an hour combined. We'll see. And then, of course, Miss Boone has the opportunity to allocute, which I'm sure she's going to take full responsibility for everything that happened and throw herself on the mercy of the court, because that definitely sounds like something Sarah Boone would do. Probably not that last part. No. So we'll see how it pans out. But I'm expecting the answer is going to be about forever. She is facing a minimum of 22 and a half years, a maximum of life, and I'm imagining it's going to be much closer to the latter than the former. My bet is it's going to be life or life adjacent. Life or close enough that, we don't really count it, is my bet, because the horror show and the smugness and the letters and her complete lack of contrition and basically her cruelty in the manner of death, I think is going to play a huge factor. That this was a particularly cruel manner of death, I imagine might be an aggravating factor the court may take notice of. So, life or life adjacent. Maybe if she's really, really lucky, she might get to breathe air someday when she's really, really old. Probably not. Probably life. Especially because she's not going to take responsibility or anything. So, yeah. But we'll see how it pans out. We will see how it all pans out. And thank you for joining me. I'm glad that you are here today to spend some quality time with me. I went to the gym to do some cardio today. I did a little bit of cardio yesterday. I'm gonna try to maybe do 30 days of cardio. So like every day of December. So yesterday it was like only 8 minutes. And today I did 15 minutes and 20 seconds on the elliptical. I did 1.25 miles on the elliptical, which, is nothing to write home about. But still, it's a start. My cardio needs help. So I need a little bit of effort getting back into it. But hey, anything is better than nothing. No parole in Florida? Not for this, there's not. No, there's no good credit time or nothing for that like that. So no, she's probably, there is good credit time, but I don't believe for this offense there's good credit time. So I believe the number is the number of years she served, minus, of course, the time she's already served. So you'd have to subtract 4 years, give or take, from whatever number the judge gives, because she's already served that time. So she's entitled to time served in terms of credit. We'll see. Aw, thank you very much for saying I won your subscription. That's very kind of you. Did I calculate my desired maximum heart rate? Not really, no. I just went on the treadmill and went at a normal pace. Maybe later. I put it on resistance level 5. I believe it goes up to 20. And I just went at sort of a normal pace. It was fine. When does it start? It's supposed to start in 2 minutes. When will it actually start? Who knows? It starts when it starts, my friend. It starts when it starts. I am not in control of the schedule of the Florida courts. Maybe they won't have a sentencing hearing at all today. Maybe it'll get delayed. Who knows? It's live, man. We're going to do it live. That one juror, though, juror number 3, when the clerk of court was asking for their verdict, couldn't say guilty fast enough. That guy is my spirit animal. During the polling of the jury, when they asked the jurors what your verdict was, the clerk couldn't even get the question out before he's like, guilty. He was ready, man. He was ready. Yeah. I'm imagining, yeah, it's not going well. Sarah was one who attacked her. Was Sarah the one who attacked her lawyer at some point, or was it somebody else? I don't remember. Was Sarah Boone one who attacked her lawyer? I don't remember. I don't remember. Sarah Boone's done a lot of crazy stuff. It's hard to keep them all straight. Yeah. Shabiznes. That's right. It was Shabiznes who attacked her lawyer, not Sarah Boone. Yeah, I didn't think that sounded right. Yeah, it was Shabiznes who attacked her lawyer, not Sarah Boone. Atlas Knife and Tool. How you doing, Atlas? Thanks for the super chat. Quick question. Sure, no problem. Can Hunter still be forced to testify against Joe? Yes. I know it's very unlikely, but discussion with friends. Yes. Yes, Hunter can be forced to give testimony. He no longer has Fifth Amendment protection. Fifth Amendment protection protects you against incriminating yourself, but he can no longer incriminate himself because he's been given a pardon. So he has no exposure. So he has no Fifth Amendment protection because nothing he says can possibly incriminate him. So yes, he could be forced to give testimony, at least in principle. Now, I imagine in reality, the answer is going to be, I can't recall to basically every question. But yes, in principle, he can be forced to testify. This is true. Taylor Shabiznes was a lot, with the decapitated head in the bucket. Sarah Boone isn't quite in that territory. We can argue who is more cruel. I think Shabiznes is more insane than Boone. Not to say that, Shabiznes is so insane that she should be forgiven in any sense, but she's more mentally disturbed than Boone. Boone doesn't strike me as particularly mentally challenged or mentally disturbed. She just strikes me more as evil. Her problem is that she's evil. She's got a wicked heart. Not so much that she has mental problems. Oh, thank you for saying we have the best mods ever. We do have some decent mods, and they do help to keep the chat a nice place. We do love our mods. Thank you. If he doesn't give testimony, could be a charge? Sure, he could be charged with contempt of court for refusing to give testimony, or contempt of Congress, or contempt of fill in the blank, depending on who is the one asking the questions. Yes. So he could be charged with contempt for refusing to testify, because that would be a new offense that he'd be committing. Yes. Boone is a spoiled brat in an adult body. Yeah. Also, incidentally, and I still don't know why this was a thing last night, I was getting such crap quality on my stream with Potentially Criminal. Potentially Criminal looked fine, and I looked like a fuzzy mess. It's like, what's up with that? I don't know what's up with that. It's just like it was some bullshit. I don't know what's going on, man. It was really pissing me off. I like Sean, though. It was a good conversation. I did appreciate sort of chat's collective incredulity as they kept asking, wait a second, what if this, with respect to the pardon? And at one point, I'm just like, what about this are you not understanding? What part of global pardon for any offense for the last 10 years federal are you not getting? It's because chat just kept asking questions like, what if it's murder? What if it's treason? What if it's CP? And I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. What about this are you not understanding? What part of this is unclear? I think chat is just not used to a clear yes. They're not used to a lawyer just simply saying yes or no, because it depends is the common refrain of lawyers, right? So chat doesn't quite know what to do with themselves when a lawyer just says unambiguously, oh, the answer is yes, or oh, the answer is no. Chat doesn't quite know what to do with themselves when the answer is just yes or no. It's like, wait a second, doesn't it depend? No, not this time, it doesn't. Man. Chat's fun sometimes. Chat's fun sometimes. When's the last time someone got charged with treason? I don't know. The last time someone got executed for it was World War II. And if I think about it really hard, I should be able to remember their name. Husband and wife pair got executed for treason. I should know their names. Why don't I remember their names? Why is my memory failing me? This sucks. Getting old sucks. Thank you, Rosenbergs. Thank you. I hear ice cracking. Thank you, $5 for the super chat. That's very nice. Yeah. So those guys. I don't know if they're the last people executed. Yeah, no one's been charged with treason in a hot minute because there's really no reason to, because there's so many other fun offenses to charge people with. So yeah, no one's been charged with treason in a hot minute. Was Hansen charged with treason? Ooh, good question. The FBI director guy or the FBI guy? Was he charged with treason? He might have been. You might be right. I don't know. Yeah, you might be right. What time is it starting? 5 minutes ago. Bergman in 1949? Oh, okay. I still don't get how sweeping the pardon is. I thought it had to be specific. You thought wrong. It has to identify what it covers. Breadth is not the same thing as vague. It just has to identify what it's talking about in a way that people understand. But every offense that was committed between this date and this date isn't ambiguous. There's no doubt about what that means. So it's not vague. It's broad, but it's not vague. Hello, friends. Hello, Monet. Hello, Navajo Blonde. Blondie. Blonde. What, Trevor? Hello, Native American friend. We're just patiently waiting for the court to court. Courts court when they court. They do what they do when they do them. What can you do except wait? You predict 30 to life with parole? She's not going to, there's no parole. I think it has to be a set number of years. 30 to life would be what you call an indeterminate sentence. I don't believe that Florida allows for that. And most states don't anymore. So when you used to have like 20 to 40 years or 30 to life or something like that, that's called an indeterminate sentence because we don't know what it is. It's indeterminate. But most states, including Florida, have moved to determinate sentencing. So now it's just, here is the number. So, yeah. How's my day been? My day's been fine. I got a little gym in, and then I went to the grocery store to pick up another pound of ground sirloin because I was a pound short because they didn't give me what I wanted on my Instacart order. So I have enough stuff to make chili now. So I can make chili. Plus, I got some chicken tenders for lunch from the grocery store, which was nice. Hansen pled espionage, you get death penalty off the table, 15 consecutive life sentences. Sounds pretty plausible. Chili is good. Yeah, no. They just shorted me a pound of ground beef. I asked for 2.2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, and they only gave me 1.25 on Instacart. So they shorted me a pound. So I didn't have quite enough to make my chili. But now I do. Can they go for death sentence? Not here. No, she wasn't charged with the death penalty. Chili and cornbread? Respect. Yeah. The last treason conviction was 1952. There you go. Now you're answering your own questions. With beans? No, this has no beans. It's just it's 2 pounds of breakfast sausage, hot breakfast sausage, and then ideally 2 pounds of ground sirloin, although this will be just a bit more, 2.25 pounds. And then a bag of frozen onions chopped, a bag of frozen ground green pepper chopped, and then a large can of Rotel tomatoes plus a smaller can of the hot Rotel tomatoes, plus, of course, chili seasoning and a little bit of mustard, and then a can of beer, and then the rest with water, and Bob's your uncle. You could, of course, use fresh green pepper and onion, but the frozen is a little bit easier, and so I made it easier on myself. Coming up, state of Florida versus Sarah Boone sentencing, suitcase murder trial. Ah, yeah. Plus a little garlic, extra garlic powder, or minced garlic. A tablespoon of that. Tablespoon of mustard powder. It's good stuff. And then I usually serve it on rice. So I then, I heat up 3/4 of a cup of Insta rice, serve it on top of that with some cheese. Excellent. Watch Court TV for legal analysis on this case and more on courttv.com or download the Court TV app. Ah, yeah. Cheddar cheese, yeah, usually I go cheddar. Sometimes I'll use a cheese blend, but usually cheddar. Baked potato also works, you better believe it. Or sweet potato is also interesting. Are there going to be lawsuits over that BS Tyson fight? Not that are going to go anywhere, no. No, probably not. On noodles, noodles could work. Yeah, you can serve it on top of lots of things, or not serve it on top of things. You could serve it without the rice. The rice just makes for a very cheap filler, so it brings down the cost of the meal quite a bit by using 3/4 of a cup of crusted rice. You bring down the cost of the meal. So, yeah. You love sour cream? Respect. For the 385 of you currently joining us, thank you for spending some time with me. We can talk about other things while we're waiting, because at the moment there's really not much on topic. So we can talk a little bit off topic if you guys like. If there's other legal stuff you want to talk about. That South Carolina case I'm going to be following, I believe, started today with jury selection. So we're probably going to be covering that pretty soon. Probably starting tomorrow, I would imagine. With the bride who was killed on her wedding day by the drunk driver, as the bride and groom were traveling from the wedding venue in their golf cart. Drunk driver hit them, killed the bride. That sucks hard. What's the latest on Rekieta? He has a conference on the 17th, I believe. So his initial conference has been delayed. Reasons unclear. Speculation is because they're looking to potentially see how the motion with respect to his wife turns out. Would be my speculation. But indications are that Nick is going to take a plea deal, which I think is probably a pretty good thing. If I had to guess, which I do, I would imagine that you're looking at a plea to probably 4th degree possession and probably dropping at least some, if not all, the misdemeanor charges, would be my best bet. So that is sort of because you're right on the cusp of 3rd degree as it is. Because he had 26 grams and change. The cutoff is 25, but the 26 grams and change includes packaging. So you're like right on the cusp of 3rd degree anyway. So kind of like you get one for free. So then basically you go down one more. So you're at 4th degree. And then once you have the felonies, do you really need the misdemeanors? Because they're not really doing much for you. So I would imagine that those potentially drop. So that would be my best guess, but it's a guess. As to how much probation he would get, I don't know at that point. I think 2 years sounds about right, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, 2 years of probation sounds vaguely correct. The appeal brief for Jennifer Crumbly was filed today. Do you know how where it will be available? It would be available from the Court of Appeals in Michigan. You could get it from their docket. You could get it from their clerk of court. But I wouldn't really worry too much about it on the initial appeal. It's much more interesting when it goes to the Supreme Court of the state, which I imagine is going to happen. Because the primary issue with respect to liability has already been established by the Court of Appeals on the interlocutory. So the most exciting legal issue has already been decided by the Court of Appeals. And then everything else is just noise, probably. So I'm not really interested in following it till it gets to the Supreme Court of the state. And they decide whether or not this is a valid cause of action, which they probably will, to be honest, but we'll see. Will I be reviewing new docket entries today for Sarah's case? I didn't know there are any new docket entries. Other than miscellaneous ramblings from Sarah, is there anything else on the docket that I should care about? Last night I said the president could pardon several things. I said there was a precedent for it. Could Trump pardon Alex Jones' insane judgment? There's no federal hook for that I can see. I'd have to go back and reread that case because it's been a long time. Did Andrea catch me up on Baldwin? She didn't have to. Someone else did it for them. Someone else did it for Andrea. And it was that case starting with an S. That's not Smith. Yeah. So I'm on board now. There she is. There she goes again. Do, 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 do. And then I'll go in nay. I'm on a nay. There she is. Yeah. So yeah, someone else did it for Andrea in that stream. And yeah. So apparently Baldwin's prosecutor can appeal. Well, there you go. The state's response to defendant's motion for a new trial. Yeah, it's a stupid motion. It'll be denied out of hand. I don't even have to read it to know it's stupid. And I don't have to read the response. It'll be denied out of hand. Good luck. Tell it to the Court of Appeals, you know? I mean, it's standard, right? So there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with the defense filing it. It's standard. It's pro forma, but it'll be denied. The judge probably will not give it much time, if at all. The judge may not even give it any time. He may respond to it in writing, assuming he responds to it, really. Yeah. Oh, the defendant's motion for a downward departure in this? She wants a downward departure? Wow, she's bold. She's bold. She wants a downward departure? Wow. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know that I'd file that motion for a downward departure if I were her. I think that might be a strategic mistake, to be honest. I think you're probably better off just asking for the lowest end on the range rather than asking for a downward departure. Asking for a downward departure in this kind of case is kind of like hubris or something. It's just like too clever by half. I think it might be a strategic mistake to ask for a downward departure in a case like this. What's a downward departure? Less than the guidelines range. Less than the guidelines range. She'd like to depart from the guidelines in a downward direction, favorable to her. Yeah, Sarah being too clever by half and having hubris, inconceivable. I know, right? I know. Yeah, I think that might be a strategic mistake. The motion for a new trial is just a pro forma. It's like asking for, a judgment notwithstanding the verdict at the end of the case or something. It's kind of pro forma in most of the cases. But asking for a downward departure, it's like, really? I don't know, man. If it were me, I think you might be better off just trying to sink it to the minimum within the guidelines range rather than asking for a downward. It's just, I mean, do you really think, as the defense lawyer, do you really think that this is one of those cases that just screams out for going below the minimum? Your Honor, I know that normally we sentence defendants to this, but this case, this isn't what the law, I mean, I know it's a murder, but nevertheless, this wasn't what the law was built for. Now, you could have that kind of case, right? You could have that kind of case, like where maybe, I don't know, it's a grieving parent who like kills their child's murderer, in a fit of rage or whatever, right? Something like that, sees them in the courthouse and, decides to choke them out, in a split second, and so they're technically guilty, but you're like, but he needed killing, and so we need a downward departure. So you could definitely have that kind of case, but is this that case? Is that this case where it's, I know, Your Honor, that murder's bad, but hear me out. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I know it's technically illegal and all, but it was for the good of the order. Sure. Yeah. Her poor lawyer, indeed. Yeah. You know that notwithstanding the fact that she said she's happy 8,000 times, she's going to file ineffective assistance of counsel at the Court of Appeals, right? He knows that. We all know that. I do appreciate seeing her in her prison uniform with her full chains on. That's exciting. We got some sound from the courtroom now. That's also exciting. Rustling noises and such. Yeah, file ineffective assistance of counsel with this defense. Good luck. This defense lawyer's been fine. He's been better than fine. I could have done without the "I'm just a simple country lawyer" bit, but other than that, and he managed to get things that you never see. He managed to get a deposition in the middle of the trial in open court, which I've never seen before. He didn't quite know what to do with himself once he got it, but he did get it. It's like, I'd like a second deposition. The judge ultimately is like, how about right now in open court? We're going to do a deposition right now. I like, okay. Judge kind of bending over backwards for the defense, it seems to me at some points, to be honest. Yeah, taking out the papers like she has a get out jail free card. A little bit. Thank you for the gift memberships, by the way. I do appreciate that very much. KL Burke, thank you for the gift memberships, 10 gift memberships. Always appreciated. Yeah, the get out jail free card could be there somewhere. Yeah. Let me tell you how this is all really legal after all, Your Honor. Okay. Your Honor, I have this last second stunning document to show the court. Okay. She seems like in a remarkably good mood for someone who's about to be sentenced to life. She seems like in a remarkably good mood for someone who's about to get 40 years if she's lucky. For federal laws or pardons that take place on a specific date, is there a standard time zone that's used? Love it. Love it. That's a good question. I don't know if it's ever been adjudicated, Sean. That's a really good question. So when it says through December 1st where? I guess through December 1st everywhere. I don't know. In the location in which you are. If it comes down to time zones, though. If it comes down to time zones, but that's a very good question. Unless like the time zone of the place is contemplated in the pardon, right? So if you did for a January 6th pardon, you probably say something like everyone who was at the Capitol. So that would contemplate the Eastern time zone. But otherwise, I guess it's the time zone in whichever hypothetical crime would be committed in. It would be the most favorable interpretation to the person who is pardoned. Would be the most likely correct interpretation. The ambiguity would be interpreted against the drafter. So, but I like the question. I'm not sure anyone's ever asked that question before, and so it makes me smile. Potentially criminal, who is here to say, Your Honor, everyone's wrong except me. A little bit potentially criminal. A little bit. If there's a leap second, does it include that second as well? Those are the questions we don't know the answer to. When the clock chimes 11:59:60. Is that also included? Lol. $2 from FMM 2.0 says awful lot of grays here in chat. I know. There are way too many grays here in chat, FMM. We need to stop this the grayness. Pray the gray away by becoming an uncivilian today. Thank you very much for the 20 gift memberships, FMM. They are appreciated. Will anyone speak on her behalf? She does apparently have that one expert witness who's going to testify for 45 minutes about what? I don't know. But that's what they said initially, is like she has one expert witness. And then, of course, she gets the opportunity to allocute, which I'm sure will be exciting. Can someone pardon someone for a crime in which they're involved? Yes. Can someone effectively pardon themselves? Yes. In my view, yes. The power to pardon includes the ability to pardon oneself. That's my view, and always has been. It's plenary and unchecked and unqualified. So, yes. The greens will rise up. The greens may indeed rise up. And I'm wearing green. And I got sort of a greenish hat, sort of, kind of. So, make sure to join. We do appreciate everyone who supports the channel. Way too many grays. Pray the gray away by hitting that beautiful, beautiful join button. It is only 99 cents a month to join. It is literally the cheapest YouTube will let me charge you. I literally cannot charge you any less. It is only 99 cents a month. What can you buy for 99 cents? Not much, man. But you can get you can get a membership at Uncivil Law. I'd buy that for $1. Well, you have the opportunity to buy that for $1. What do you get for your $1? Well, you get some behind the scenes content. You get some editing streams. You get some recording streams. You get gaming streams. You sometimes get streams when they go bad or I have to do a redo. Sometimes you get some outtake streams. You get some cool emojis. You get the scales by your name. Plus, you get that feeling of superiority that you're just a little bit better than everyone else who does not have all those things because you are an uncivilian and you're just a little bit better than everyone else. Thank you, Johan Naxos, for becoming an uncivilian. I appreciate it. Plus, uncivil law gets to eat, which is a plus. How would you pardon everyone? How would you do a Jan 6 pardon without accidentally pardoning random criminals in the general vicinity? Well, you could do it based on specific crimes. Like if it were me drafting it, like my first thought would be a partial pardon, right? It would instead of a full pardon, it would be a partial pardon, and it would be, I hereby pardon everyone who on January 6th, with at the Capitol grounds or within a half mile thereto, committed any of the following offenses, and then list the offenses I wanted to pardon them for. For example, the trespassing, parading, the simple like offenses. Just list the offenses I want to pardon them for. And so I can effectively do it by limiting the geography of it and limiting the offenses by specifically naming them. That's my first thought. The other alternative, of course, is you could go through them individually. You could go through each one individually, and you could list each individual docket number and each individual thing you want to pardon them for. So with respect to docket number, 1, not really, but, effectively, with respect to docket number 1, these offenses. With respect to docket number 2, these offenses. So you could do it that way. You could do it piecemeal. Although my way is a lot easier. So is this ever going to start? It's already started, baby. It started, baby. We're here. I'm here. I'm on. What more do you need? What more do you need than uncivil? Are you not already entertained? Would you like a trick? See a magic trick, yeah. Sarah's not special. She's a typical crazy woman. I don't know that I think she's just evil. I think she's just evil is the problem. She has blackness in her heart. What's she saying? I think she's saying I'm going to Disneyland. Or Disney World, I guess. Since it's a little bit closer. Pray the gray away? What the fuck is that? Your name is in gray. Pray the gray away? Your name is in gray. We prefer your name being green because green is membership. So pray the gray away by hitting the beautiful, beautiful join button is how you submit your prayers. By hitting the beautiful, beautiful join button is how you submit your prayers. And you pray the gray away. Will DeSantis pardon her? Fuck no. Thank you, Sir Frank Otter, for being a member for 11 months. That's very kind of you. And thank you for the orange hearts. They speak to me. Boone has asked for Lori Vallow to represent her on appeal. Pog. Yeah. I just shot President George. I'm going to Disneyland. I'm going to Disneyland. Oh, man. Thank you, Atlas Knife and Tool, for becoming an uncivilian. We do appreciate it. Maybe don't shoot at presidents, though. Maybe don't do that. That'd be good. While the pardon talk today? Really, Dave? Really? While the pardon talk today? Have you been under a rock for the last 24 hours? What do you mean why all the pardon talk today? What do you mean? So there's been news, Dave. Can SB represent herself on appeal? Not only can she almost certainly have to. Because I don't think she's going to find a private lawyer that's going to do it. And the public defender's office probably can't find any grounds either. So they're going to file an Anders brief and tell her she's on her own. Poor Anders always getting priest file. Yeah. 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 I was going to say she's entitled to court appointed counsel, but if you're saying Anders brief, I gotcha. Yeah. She is entitled to court appointed counsel, but they have to have grounds. So, yeah. Thank you for the 500 of you currently watching. I feel loved. Can I see that? I am going to say it anyway. I do feel loved. I feel loved. 500 of you tuning in when not much is happening. It makes me feel good inside. It makes me feel like I've done something right. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here and spending some time with me. I feel validated and loved. And I appreciate it. Thank you. You guys help me. I appreciate it when you guys respond so positively to me. It makes me feel good inside. It makes me feel good inside when we're having fun and frivolity and, generally enjoying the day together. It's good. I've definitely noticed myself being happier. Like even in the last couple of months, I noticed myself laughing more, especially since I started working out regularly. I noticed myself laughing more and being generally more upbeat. I still sometimes get mad. I still sometimes get depressed. I still sometimes respond negatively. I still sometimes have all those problems that, come with all those things. So it's not like they've disappeared completely, but I find the other end of it being expressed more often, which is encouraging. So I find myself less likely to take things personally, less likely to be mad, less likely to be angry, less likely to be depressed. Those things absolutely still happen. But we're heading in the right direction, and thank God for that, right? One step at a time? Yeah. Gemma says for $2, great to see you smile and be in good spirits. I'm in good spirits today.
All right, order.
Good afternoon, Bill. Can you see? Thank you.
Are the law students back? That'd be good. Thank you, Bluefish, for being a member for 15 months. Happy to be watching this with you. I'm happy to be watching with you too. It shows you can join for $1.49, probably because you're trying to join through an Apple device. So you're being charged the Apple tax. So use a desktop computer or equivalent. The extra 50 cents isn't me. Either that or you're in some other country and it's doing some sort of conversion. It's 99 cents American, which may or may not amount to exactly the same in your country. So either one, you're paying in some other currency, or 2, you're using an Apple device. Those would be my most likely thoughts. Thank you, Brian Gibson, for the 20 gift memberships. I feel very encouraged by that. MG Law says, I fell behind to a phone call, but I agree on the pardon power. Yeah, I mean, it's absolute, plenary, unchecked, unqualified. Yes, I believe you can pardon yourself. And as long as you identify the people or persons, the person or persons, in a way that we can understand who we're talking about, and you tell us what offenses, you're there. And you can do global pardons.
Florida versus Sarah Boone, 2020.
So you can do like everyone at the Capitol on Jan 6. You know, that'd be specific enough.
William J. for the state.
Defense.
James Owens for Sarah Boone.
Ms. Boone is seated at counsel's table. Ma'am, if you could please raise your right hand, Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ma'am, can you state your full name and date of birth for the record for us?
Sarah Boone, 10-10-77.
We are here for a sentencing. The jury returned a verdict on October 25, finding you, Ms. Boone, guilty of murder in the second degree. We are running a little bit late this afternoon. I apologize for that. I was in court all morning and took the opportunity to review all of your submittals from earlier this morning, Mr. Owens, including the victim or the character statements, the psychological evaluation by Dr. Harper, the motion for downward departure, the motion for new trial, and the state's response to same. Before we proceed with any sentencing in this matter, the court needs to address the defendant's motion for new trial and the state's response to the defendant's motion for new trial. Anything in addition you'd like to argue at this time, Mr. Owens, over and above what is contained in your motion, sir?
No, sir.
State.
No, sir.
All right, after reviewing the motion and the state's response to same, the defendant's motion for a new trial is denied. Based on the court's review of the record, the court's participation in the trial, and the review of all the evidence, and the court's prior findings and rulings.
You gotta love how simple that is. I just laugh because of how simple it is. I love it. I just love the uncomplicated of this. Do you have anything more to say? Okay, motion denied. Moving right along. That's great shit, man. That's great.
Any housekeeping matters that we need to address, Mr. J or Mr. Cacciatore, before we proceed?
Not from the state.
Are there any housekeeping matters from your side of the ledger, sir, that we need to address, Mr. Owens?
Judge, I do have 4 lay witnesses that are going to testify.
You have 4 lay witnesses. Oh, we've expanded our witness list since we last
Lay
talked.
witnesses wants to appear by Zoom. She lives up in Minnesota. I don't know if that's allowed.
We don't have an objection to that. One of our witnesses that will be providing an impact statement would also like to appear on the court's virtual link as well.
Okay, so stipulated. If you need it, just let Anita know, and I can have her email it to you right now, the link.
We do have the link. She's waiting to get on, I guess.
Who might it be, sir? Several people.
It should be Lana Albert.
She is here, sir. She's in the, she's viewing, her camera's off and she's, microphone is muted, but she's in the lobby.
Okay.
All right, with that, State, you may proceed.
Your Honor, at this time, we would like to take an impact statement from, I believe, Anna Torres, which you will be appearing virtually.
I see several guests, but I do not see a Anna Torres in the virtual lobby, sir.
Well, I think while maybe she's having some issue logging on, we have also in-person witnesses.
We can proceed with those first, sir.
Call Anna Torres.
Smart, by the way. Smart for him to do the virtual witnesses first, just in case there was a tech problem, so he can buy himself time with the in-person witnesses while he tries to figure out what the problem is. Very, very smart, rather than doing it the other way around. Very, very smart. Because if you'd done it the other way around and she wasn't there, then be like, oh, what do I do now? But by trying to do the virtual witness first and there's a tech problem, now he has time. Respect.
Okay. Ma'am, you can go ahead.
Okay, lo I just want to tell Sarah Boone that I don't hate her for what she did. And I always remember that evening when that lady came into my door and she knocked at the door. And she asked for my name. I said, I tell her my name. And then she said, can I come in? I said, okay, yes. And she told me to sit down. I never think that was gonna be my son. And then she said my son was dead. Since that day, I can't sleep. It's hard for me to remember that moment. My son is not here no more. She don't only kill my son, she killed a father, a brother, an uncle. It's been hard. I'm a family because all the brothers, they will always work together. But now it's like something real. Love is missing. Sometimes when I look out the window, I'm waiting for him to come and say, Mom, I love you. She was always there. She called and called me. I missed that moment. The last time that I talked to him was at 12 o'clock in January, New Year. He came to my bed and said, Mom. He woke me up and I said, Mom, I love you. Happy New Year. And since that day, I don't see him no more. He was my son. I love him. And I miss him a lot. My family miss him a lot too. But I don't hurt her. But you know what? I was blessed. She ain't gonna be blessed like me because I have my son. I raised him. I have his children, my granddaughter, my grandson, and she don't gonna be able to have that. And I did. I raised him. He wasn't perfect, but he was a good son. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. State anything further from this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, sir.
Thank you. You may call your next victim impact statement.
Victoria Torres.
Do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Ma'am, could you state and spell your name for the record for us, please?
Victoria Torres. My name is Victoria Torres. George is my brother. Unfortunately, my family has experienced two horrifying tragedies. I just want to make it clear that George deserves justice. As far as my other brother and Sarah deserve to rot in jail. Sarah has caused a lifetime of pain, a lifetime of horrible images, a lifetime of hearing my brother George plead for his life. This is just this moment for all of you. For me and my family, it's forever. Such a simple thing as using a suitcase is so triggering. I try not to close it all the way. I leave at least like 2 or 3 inches for the zipper. And it might sound crazy, but it just helps me. She really has flipped my family's life upside down. And I just hope that we can truly get justice for my brother. And I just want to tell the team thank you so much for everything they did. Thank you.
Thank you. State anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? No. Thank you.
Your Honor, could we see if Ms. Anna Torres has been able to make it online?
Do not see an Anna Torres in the lobby, sir. I have lots of guests, HHSA, Mr. Beck, Lana Albert, Jason Gunn.
Your Honor, is there a cap to the link as to the number of individuals?
Not to my knowledge.
Could we just have just a moment?
Yes.
You think the judge will have a lot to say about Sarah? Yeah. I don't know. I've never obviously been in the position for real, but I think I'd be the kind of judge who wouldn't really have anything to say. I think I'd just be like, just give you the number. I don't know that I'd say anything, to be honest. Res ipsa loquitur, baby. The thing speaks for itself. Sarah Boone, I hereby sentence you to 40 years. End of statement, It's like I don't need to dress it up by saying anything. I don't know. If I ever become a judge for real, I guess we'll find out. But yeah. Do any judges do YouTube? Sure, there are judges with YouTube channels. I don't know if there's any judges doing legal commentary on top of being judges, but You know, I figure as long as you're not doing commentary about anything that's within your jurisdiction, then you're probably within the bounds of ethics of a judge. You know. Yeah, I think as long as you're not doing anything within your jurisdiction, you're probably safe. Although it might be slightly challenging. Yeah, so you probably couldn't do anything like within your jurisdiction or anything like above you. You know. So probably couldn't do U.S. Supreme Court opinions, or if I did, they'd
Yes,
have
sir,
to be
Mr.
like really
Castore.
old ones.
After speaking with Mr. Owens, given the fact that the victim's daughter is having difficulties with
Is that her, Anna Victoria Torres?
Yes, sir.
Is that it? Is that who it is? All right, ma'am, good afternoon. Can you hear us?
Good afternoon. I can hear you.
Okay, could you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Anna Victoria Torres, ANAVICTORIA
All right, thank you, ma'am. I understand that you'd like to provide a statement to the court at this time. You may proceed.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be speaking for myself and my two siblings. The murder of our father has impacted us on so many levels and in different ways. I myself, for the first year, would wake up screaming every morning or night, wishing I was having a nightmare, only to wake up to remember all over again that my father is gone and I'll never be able to hear him say he loves me ever again. To know my siblings have been affected in such a way that they are now different. They have had a piece of their heart ripped away from them, all while her son gets to hear his mother's voice and see her alive is pathetic. Because of you, Sarah, my sister is heartbroken. Because of you, Sarah, my brother is left wondering when he will ever see his father again. The loss of my father has left me with chronic depression and anxiety. Seeing any moments of fatherly love or kindness being shown between others in real life or even on TV leaves me in complete shambles. Seeking therapy was a must in order to navigate through my workday without a random breakdown. Thoughts of my father's demise still enter my mind ever so often. I'm left either angry, sad, or sick to my stomach to think of how his final moments were. George Torres, my incredible father. Not only was he my father, but my best friend. My personal comic provided me with wisdom and knowledge, creative and loving dad, an older brother, an uncle, a cousin, a friend, a son, and above all, our father. He was human and deserved to be treated as such. My father, George Torres, was one of a kind, an absolute gem. Unfortunately, his light was dimmed on earth by evilness, but with us, we will forever make his name live on. Especially Sarah, I pray that you see his face when you see him at night. That is it.
Thank you. Anything further, State?
No, Your Honor.
Anything further of this witness?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No other impact statements, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other witnesses or evidence at this point in time, State?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Owens, you may proceed, sir.
Miss Diane Smith.
Who you?
Judge, what do you want me?
I have no issue with her being at the podium. If you want to move about the well to conduct your examination, that's fine, counselor. Ma'am, come on up. Come on up to this podium right here, ma'am. If you could, raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Ma'am, could you state and spell your name for the record for us, please?
Diane Smith, DIANE-SMITH.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor, you may inquire.
And Ms. Smith, tell the court a little bit about you.
I was a chaplain at the 33rd Street Jail for 30 years.
And have you been a chaplain at the jail here in Orange County?
Yes, Orange County Jail
Is it the same
for
jail
30
you're
years.
referring to? Okay. And during that period of time, did you have occasion to meet with Sarah Boone?
I did.
And was it over the course of how long?
I've known her 4 years.
And if you could, tell the court what you'd like to say.
Okay. Well, I first met Sarah. She came in, we have a Christian dorm, and Sarah enrolled in our Christian program. And she was in my classes for a year. And she was very sincere in her efforts to change her life and to be a better person. And I found her very helpful. She was kind and good to people. She loved to serve. And she helped the new girls that would come in, the younger girls. She would mother them and be very kind and very helpful. And then after she graduated from the program, I was her counselor for the other 3 years. And I always found her, very sincere and, trying to do better. I spoke with many inmates that knew her and was associated with her. And they spoke very highly of her and said that, she was helpful and kind and tried to help other people. And I just found her to be, very sincere and trying to be a very good person and change and help people.
Was the Bible involved at all?
Oh, yes, it was all spiritual. Yes, it was spiritual growth plus character, growth and character, trying to just be a better person in general. She liked to serve other people, she would help the girls wash their clothes and show them around and teach. But spiritually, she grew very, very great spiritually.
Thank you.
Hang on, ma'am, just one second.
Ma'am?
Hang on just one second, Ms. Smith. State, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am, I appreciate you.
I'd like to call Christina Pena. It's right here.
Yeah, it's fine, Counselor, thank you.
Okay.
Ma'am, come on up if you can. Raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
Who you?
I swear or affirm the testimony about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Who you?
Ma'am, if you could state and spell your name for the record for us.
Christina Pena, Christina Pena.
All right, you may inquire, sir.
Ms. Pena, how old are you?
31,
And where do you live?
Orlando.
Now, it's my understanding, Ms. Pena, that you were in the county jail with Sarah Boone.
Yes.
How long were y'all in the same cell together?
Yes,
Right.
I was in there for 4 years, but we were together for 3.
Okay. And I understand ultimately the charges against you were dismissed?
Yeah.
And so you were released on what day?
April 4th this year.
2024?
2023.
2023. So you've been out for a pretty while.
I've been out for like 6 or so months now. Yeah, since April
Okay.
of this year, actually, sorry.
April of 2024. And you said y'all were bunkmates there together for about 3 years?
Yeah.
I would assume that y'all got to know each other pretty well.
We did.
Okay. And if you could, if you'd like to speak on her behalf to the judge.
Yes. Sarah's one of my best friends, my only.
Take your time.
She's helped me with a lot. Spiritually and like growing and she helps everybody. She's always, I don't know, she helped me a lot, and she would come to me, she'd talk to me all the time and pick me up when I was down, or if I didn't know something, she's good. I don't know, she was a good person to me. Mistakes happen. She always helped people. She was always helping everybody in the dorm. Even like her artwork, she did art. If anybody needed any help or needed anything, they'd come to her and they'd help. She'd help
does
them.
artwork?
Even if they, did wrong to her, she would still go back and help them and praise with them and pray over them and everything. It's just
Was she a little bit older than you?
Can I see some of the artwork?
How much older was she?
40 in her 40s.
Did you think of her as maybe an aunt or a big sister? What
A
was
big sister, yeah, she was like a big sister, like a sister I never had. Because I have brothers, so I never, we clicked right away, I don't know. We'd be walking out in the backyard and she just would always try and talk to me, but I'm a quiet person and I don't trust a lot of people. So for me to open up and trust somebody, it's a lot, so.
And obviously y'all were there under difficult circumstances. Did
Yeah.
she assist you in getting through that?
Yes, and she helped me a lot with my case, and I would help her with, with hers too. We're both,
Did you help with the letters?
justice is not what it is. I don't know how.
Bless you.
We both helped each other out. I don't know. It's just-
Yeah.
Ms. Pena, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions, State?
No, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate you.
Okay. Well, this is already one of the more bizarre sentencings I've seen in a while. Who else you got?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who you in this cast of characters?
I do.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
My name is Mariela Hill, Mariela, last name Hill, Hill.
Thank you. You may proceed, sir.
Ms. Hill, briefly tell us a little bit about yourself.
I met Sarah in jail. I spent 3 months in jail and went through a lot of unfortunate circumstances myself.
All right, now this was in the Orange County Jail here in Orlando?
Orange County Jail.
And
correct.
when would that have been? Do you recall the dates?
Yes, it was April, from April to June of this year.
Of this year,
2024.
2024.
Correct. Yes.
And did you develop a relationship with Sarah Boone over the course of that 3 months?
Yes, yes. We met when I was moved to the B dorm, and I needed help with a form that I needed to complete, and one of the COs pointed to Sarah to help me out. And since that moment, we became really good friends, and she was so helpful, so kind, so respectful, and loving, not just to me, but to everyone. And I have nothing but good things to say about her character, her loving heart, and
How many cigarettes did you have to trade for this testimony?
deep her faith is, her faith in God, and believing in justice for everyone. That's what I believe.
State, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks.
Ms. Albert, good afternoon, ma'am. Can you hear me? This is Judge Kranick, and if you can, I would ask you to turn on your camera and unmute yourself at this time, please.
Sir, how do I unmute turn on my camera? I know how to unmute, but I'm not sure how to turn the camera on.
Dear.
Turn the volume down.
So, ma'am,
Is that better?
when you join the link, there should have been an option for like a pull down on the left-hand side of the screen for you to open out or turn on a camera. I don't know what device you're appearing on, if it's a cell phone or a laptop.
It is an iPhone. Should I try to re-enter the room?
Yeah, try to do that. There should be an option for you to pick a camera. You'll either select the default camera, and hopefully we'll be able to see you at that time.
Okay, let me, just give me 1 second.
Sure.
We are now doing tech support in the middle of the sentencing hearing. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Great. Have you tried streaming from a bunker? I hear that's a real popular option. You know, I meant the title of this stream somewhat tongue-in-cheek with the Sarah Boone Sentencing Spectacular. But as it turned out, it turned out to be more spectacular than I imagined. So the title turned out to be more accurate than I originally anticipated.
Yeah, it's saying default camera. It's saying front camera. I chose it. It didn't show my face or anything like that.
Oh, Lord.
My technological skills are limited. State?
I have no objection to the witness making their statement here telephonically.
Okay, appreciate it. All right, Miss Albert, good afternoon. If you could just state and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Certainly. Lana, Lana, Albert, Albert.
Okay. All right, Mr. Owens is going to ask you some questions. And if you could just answer them, ma'am, I would greatly appreciate it. Sir, you can proceed.
Miss Albert, do you have the ability to turn your volume down?
Yes, I just did. I can't hear you very well when I do that, though.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, but very, very quietly.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you. Am I okay?
Yeah, you sound a lot better. You were too loud earlier.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
All right, Miss Albert, tell the court a little bit about yourself briefly.
Well, I live in Minnesota. I currently have end-stage renal disease. Before I became disabled, I was a business owner in the Twin Cities here.
All right, and how old are you?
I am 50 years old.
All right, and you're considered disabled?
Yes, I am.
All right, and have you had an occasion since this event to establish a relationship with Sarah Boone?
Yes, I have. We have been friends for the past a little over 11 months.
And how do y'all communicate?
We've communicated a lot of phone calls, lots of tablet back and forth, and a lot of letters as well.
How?
I'd say many hours of time spent with each other.
How?
All right, and do you want to speak on her behalf here today?
I would, please.
All right, would you please tell the court what you would like for the court to know?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Your Honor, for the privilege of speaking on behalf of my friend Sarah Boone. I also want to extend my heartfelt condolences to everyone here affected by this terrible tragedy, which has brought us all here and listening in. Many articles and videos and opinions of Sarah have gone out in the airways and on the webs. Opinions that have been formed and commented on so much that it's hard not to give into the temptation to treat people like a comic book or a fictional character. In the case of my friend Sarah, the words narcissist, Karen, villain, many other things, they roll off the tongue with little regard to the humanity that is dismissed so flippantly. And under a lot of circumstances, I was one of those people, as I have a love of true crime. And becoming friends with Sarah has shown me that there's a lot more depth to the people I see on the screen.
What the fuck is happening right now?
I'd like to share with the world and with the court about the Sarah Boone that I know. Sarah Boone is a kind, honest, and good person. The Sarah Boone I know is one who loves animals, especially the kind who are damaged and defenseless. How many of us would take in and pour love for a hearing impaired and a sight impaired pair of dogs?
What?
She has a natural instinct to help reach out and give of herself. Her time and energy and love, especially to those who are hurting or damaged. You all have seen her fight for her own life and truth here. I tell you this, she fights even harder for those she loves, giving time, attention, and companionship without a single thought for her own gain or what somebody can do for her. And one huge example is in the matter of our friendship. As I said before, I have end-stage renal disease caused by a genetic illness called polycystic kidney disease. As my life has progressed, things I have taken for granted have been taken away from me. I could not appear in court in person because I can no longer walk, as my dialysis treatments have affected the circulation of my legs and has confined me to a wheelchair. To say that my life has radically changed is an understatement. Through it all, I have many friends and family I love and cherish. Sarah has distinguished herself differently in this way. In the course of getting to know her, I started sharing the progressing state of my health. It was like lightning had struck her. The moment Sarah had learned the depth of my struggles health-wise, she straight up offered strenuously to donate a kidney to me.
What?
I got to tell you this. I hope she's not mad for me showing this, but she had no hesitation, no concern over personal risk or personal gain. I want to convey to this out and around the world that is merely offering is a good and heroic act. I've had many friends. I've not had one outside of my brother who has offered me a kidney. That is huge. I don't have anything of equal value to give to her. And that's not the actions of a narcissist. She did it as a reflex action, as a good person. After the verdict came in October, we spoke that night. And I hope Sarah doesn't get mad at me again for disclosing this, but out of all the shock and seriousness of what had happened in the court, the thing that made her emotionally break was that she realized she could no longer be a donor to me. I mean, I was sitting there like, hey, you know, it's going to be okay. But she was so broken up, she couldn't help me. That's a friend. She is not, nor does she come up anywhere remotely close to being a narcissist. Now, one more thing before I go. Social media has worked to rip the blindfold off of Lady Justice, to take the sword out of her right hand and start assassinating Sarah's character. However, the scales are the balance. As it says in Psalm 85, mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Justice isn't justice without mercy. Our pursuit of righteousness isn't complete and right without peace. Thank you, Your Honor, for the honor of speaking for my friend Sarah Boone. I hope that your justice is mixed with mercy here today. Thank you.
State, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up, Mr. Owens?
No, Judge.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Albert. I appreciate you.
Well, the Sarah Boone sentencing spectacular certainly has been off to a spectacular start. Those were some interesting lay witnesses, including somehow a 50-year-old renal patient from Minnesota who somehow has entered the fray. Wow. Okay.
Like to call Dr. Harper?
You want her
Sure.
on the stand? Or...
Called. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm okay with her on the stand.
Oh, Lord.
She can be right now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How? I'm a true crime fanatic, but I've gotten to know the real Sarah Boone. Holy shit.
No, she'd be at the podium.
Holy shit.
Doctor, good afternoon. If you could please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk's going to go ahead and swear you in.
I don't know what the takeaway lesson is from that. I don't know what the takeaway lesson from that is, ladies. I really don't. What is the takeaway lesson from that? Friends don't let friends do true crime? I don't even know where to start. What is happening?
Dr. Julie Harper, JULIEHARPER.
All right, thank you. Counselor, you may inquire.
And Dr. Harper, we all know we were here a few weeks back for the trial, and your testimony said the judge knows quite a bit about your testimony. But if you could, I know that you prepared a report, and we have submitted that to the court, which the court has read, and the state has a copy. And I don't know if you want to refer to that or just speak on your own about Sarah Boone and what you did to assess her, and then any opinions that you want to express.
All right. I think that during trial testimony, I reviewed all of the documents, excuse me, and all of the records that were available. They're documented in my report as well. In addition to the forensic clinical interviews that I conducted, I also have had the opportunity to talk to her brother, Philip Paulson, in the interim since the trial, and I included his information in my report as to her family background.
If you could, give the court a synopsis of what your findings are, and what you uncovered maybe from the brother, whatever you think the court needs to hear this relevant material to his decision in this case.
So referring to the summary section of my report, I'll keep it a brief, but I'll outline the highlights that I feel like haven't been conveyed before, which is an understanding of Ms. Boone's early family life, in that she is the middle child of her parents' union, and that her parents did not have a happy marriage. They didn't provide an opportunity to have a good role model as to how to have a partnership together. Ms. Boone was born in close proximity to her youngest brother, 11 months apart, and in my clinical experience and training, I would say that that disrupted her attachment with her mother, some being close in proximity with her younger brother, whose temperament just seemed to suit a relationship with her mother better than her own. So ultimately, Ms. Boone...
Okay, so, all right, this is a new one. So she was born within 11 months of the previous child being born. Okay, so she's what we used to call an Irish twin. And apparently, if you're an Irish twin, that makes you a murderer or something. This will be an interesting revelation to many people, I'm sure. Don't have a child within the year of the other child. It might make them a murderer.
Bonded with her father, though he wasn't described by either child as an affectionate person. He was somebody that was there for her at sporting events and more of a primary parent for her in that way. His untimely death by heart attack during her high school years was marked by her brother as a turning point for her in how she was acting at home. Her demeanor, her relationship with her mother took a turn for the worse as she was not coping well. She was using substances based on what her brother was saying. And it is my opinion that that early lack of foundational relations with her mom and not feeling very secure, the death of her father, destabilized her. That's a period of your life when you're leaving high school, when you should have formed a very solid foundation to go out in the world, and I don't think that that's what she had at that moment. She bonded easily with Mr. Boone, and you can see that there are elements of that early difficulty with her relationships because she took on a parentified role, in my opinion, during that relationship. And therefore, there's a power imbalance in that she was making decisions and not, again, having an equal relationship. I think that that led her to a sense.
I'm not really sure that's where you want to go. Incidentally, I'm not really sure that's when you want to go. So her relationship was more like a parent. Okay, so she murdered her child? How's this helping?
Of being a need to be right, a need to feel like she is the one that's making good decisions, to have some ego support by being in the right all the time with Mr. Boone. And I think that that led to some behaviors that she carried over into her relationship with Mr. Torres, in that she's parentified around him and acting more like a parent-child relationship.
Again,
being a facilitator of housing and applications for jobs and things like that.
Again, so she murdered her child? What are we doing right now?
Seriously misaligned, as her brother and the property manager of their apartment had verified they saw her being abused, physically abused in serious ways, or the effects of the abuse in bruising or calls to them. The pattern of intimate partner violence did not leave. She stayed long past when it would have been smart for others, or others would have said to leave, sorry. The undergirding of that not leaving the relationship is a long-term anxiety problem that became post-traumatic stress disorder. There is an earlier instance of exposure to traumatic stress in that she was the person in the hospital after her father died who found him having students perform CPR on his dead body. So that was an early exposure to high traumatic stress, witnessing that incident, and based on her brother's description, that was something that changed her. When a person is exposed to numerous compounding stressors, their adrenaline system is changed. It alters your body. And things that might be an otherwise neutral situation, you tend to have a cascading adrenaline response to that. And I think that that ultimately, for her, as she succumbed to other instances of serious physical abuse from her partner, became post-traumatic stress disorder. I do think that that is a condition that is still existent even while she's in jail. It's something that she needs treatment for because those triggers are unmitigated, meaning that she hasn't really had the kind of therapy to address them and reduce her adrenaline and anxiety responses when she thinks of past instances of traumatic events that have happened to her. You can also respond to post-traumatic stress disorder clinically by using antidepressant therapy, and that would be something that could assist her ultimately in reducing symptoms if she had counseling and antidepressant therapy.
Now, Dr. Harper, I know you had testified at the trial that, in your opinion, she suffered as a battered spouse, the syndrome that is legally recognized in Florida, in the courts of Florida.
That's correct.
And I understand that is tied to this intimate partner violence, which is maybe the same thing, but there's a complex mental health issue that ties into that. Can you speak on the complexity of that whole cycle that one such as Sarah Boone and George Torres were involved in?
Certainly. So intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. It's a pattern of events that occur between two partners in which the power dynamic is altered by the physical abuse or behaviors that are controlling in nature to the point that someone's safety is threatened. It's common for victims of that to have a complex mental health condition, often including depression, anxiety, and substance abuse problems. And what might be substance abuse to cope with the problem, like numbing oneself, will sometimes result in its own diagnosis. The pattern of intimate partner violence, I think we covered in the trial, but just in summary about that, there are phases in which at first the bonding of the two partners might be something positive. They've got something in common or have pleasurable time together. And then the secondary phase of that is when there is change in dynamic and some kind of traumatic event occurs, some instance of physical violence. And then there's a third phase in which it's like a honeymoon phase where they're trying to right the relationship. So in phase one, when they're having something pleasurable, the tone shifts. Phase two, there is some kind of incident. And phase three, there's a honeymoon phase. As that pertains to anxiety, I think that a person who suffers from intimate partner violence never stops experiencing that hypervigilance, waiting for the next instance of violence to occur. So even though they may look happy, they might be experiencing something positive, they've not really relaxed because their memory that could or will occur again is still in their mind. So they haven't fully stopped experiencing intimate partner violence. It's just what phase of the process they're in.
Now, and Dr. Harper, it goes into more detail in your report, which.
I have so many problems with that description. I don't even know where to start.
Total of 11 pages.
It's like I don't even know where to start with all that. It's like on the one level, that cycle sounds like it could be descriptive of many relationships, depending on how you interpret it. Because it's like, oh, initially everything's great, and then something happens, and then they try to repair the relationship. Well, depending on how broadly you interpret that, that could describe a lot of relationships. And then like, oh, but they're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like, what the hell are we talking about? I don't, yeah. I have problems with this because it's trying to over medicalize what fundamentally to me is not a medical problem. And it's like trying to force it through a lens in which it doesn't really belong. It's like, oh, it's basically like for everything there's a diagnosis, for everything there's a justification or an excuse. Ah, Lord. Even though, it's in the past, they're always experiencing traumatic violence constantly because they're waiting for the shoe to drop again. I don't even know where to start. It's like descriptive of every relationship and infantilizing and insulting and demeaning and belittling and reprehensible and an attempt to excuse evil behavior all at the same time. It's like offending me. It's offending me 6 different ways.
That's what's been marked. I don't believe it's been filed in the court file. If it has, that's something if it needs to be, it's something we can address. I have reviewed it. It does reflect confidential and privileged information on the first page. I don't believe it's been filed in the court file unless you did it. Okay. It already has been? All right, appreciate it. Okay, excellent. Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Harper, you're aware that the defense has filed a defendant's motion for downward departure.
I think she really lost me with the we're born within 11 months of each other. That's where she really lost me. It's like, oh, okay. So if your parents have children in rapid succession,
Or specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance use or addiction. You agree that she does suffer from alcohol.
Heaven forbid your parents are knocking one out,
It's an underlying mental health disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I additionally diagnosed her with alcohol use disorder, which is separate.
But you agree she does require specialized treatment for a mental disorder that's not related to the substance abuse or addiction?
That's correct.
And you agree that she's amenable for treatment?
Yes.
And you would agree that she acted under extreme duress in this unique homicide case?
Yes.
And you would agree that the uniqueness of the circumstances, the facts and circumstances surrounding the case, that the offense was committed in an unsophisticated manner?
Yes.
And it was isolated?
That's my understanding as well.
Other than she had the charge where both of them were charged at one time, and I think she had...
it's less common now than it used to be, I'm sure. But, back in the day, especially, before modern technology and before birth control, particularly, families would have 12 kids or 15 kids, so, amazingly, I wasn't aware there was huge murder problems from these large families that used to be somewhat normal in society. Interesting revelations.
Allegation of a felony case that was ultimately dismissed when both of them were arrested.
She had a prior felony case. The facts are different, of course, than this particular case where we're here today.
Dr. Harper, I believe that's all the questions I've got, unless you would like to say if I've missed anything, of course.
No, I can.
Okay, and if not, it's in the report.
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, may she take the stand so I can take the podium?
Yes, that's fine. You may inquire, sir.
In pages 1 and 2 of your report, you go through the sources of your information, correct?
Yes.
And that would include 8 interviews that you had with her from the course of August of 2020 through September of 2024, correct?
There were 9 interviews, but 8 dates of service are listed.
You did the Miller Forensic Assessment of Symptoms Test, or MFAST.
That's right.
Inventory of Legal Knowledge, ILK.
That's right.
Clinician-administered PTSD Scale 5 examination.
Yes.
You consulted with her attorney.
Yes.
Videotaped interviews from this court case number of Sarah Boone, interview part 1 and 2, Abraham Moreno interview, Brandon Moats interview, Brian Boone interview, Juan Torres interview, and Melissa Sexton interview, correct?
Yes.
You reviewed the autopsy photos?
Yes.
You reviewed some of the digital forensic exhibits, including the Apple iPhone XS and a Samsung SMJ 327 T1 photographs from those 2 devices?
Yes.
You reviewed Bates stamped discovery pages 1 through 413.
That's correct.
The crime scene photos are photos of scene taken on June 19th of 2020.
Yes.
Aspire Health records.
Yes.
And who do those pertain to?
Aspire Health records are for Sarah Boone.
Florida Hospital Medical Group records.
Yes.
And who do those records pertain to?
That is also for Sarah Boone.
And Aspire, is that a mental health treatment facility?
It has an emergency department record, but that would be the place where she was detained under the Baker Act.
And it is routine and common in the practice of forensic psychology or psychiatry to rely on the records of other such practitioners.
As a source of information, sure.
You reviewed the deposition of Dr. Tanya Warner.
I did.
You reviewed the trial testimony of Sarah Boone, Brian Boone, Dr. Michael Brannon, Dr. Tanya Werner, correct?
Yes.
The jury verdict form dated 10/25/24.
Yes.
Witness list notice of filing amended
Yes.
on this case. Records of Jorge Torres or George Torres involving case numbers 2019 MM 5114, a 911 call and PDF. Case 2019 MM 7193, case 2019 MM 7193, Torres Public Records, case 2019 MM 7193, Torres Photos, Central Florida Primary Care Records, Advent Health Orlando Medical Records, correct?
Yes.
And those latter records that I just mentioned, those for Mr. Torres and not Ms. Boone, correct?
That's right.
Then you reviewed Sarah Boone written correspondence, Sarah's listing of domestic violence incidents, Sarah's writings regarding missing days of work and Baker Act, and a 74-page life story.
That's right.
And then case 2018 CF 10573, public records and photos.
Yes.
And a telephone interview with Melissa Sexton, the property manager, which you conducted on October 1st, 2024.
Yes.
And a telephonic interview with Philip Paulson, the defendant's brother, on November 26, 2024.
Yes.
Where has Ms. Boone been housed and living since February of 2020?
At the Orange County Jail.
And does the Orange County Jail provide mental health services to inmates?
It does.
And you already testified you would routinely, as a forensic psychologist, review records kept of psychological or psychiatric treatment of a patient or a client, correct?
Yes.
In this particular case, have you reviewed any mental health records generated by the Orange County Jail for Ms. Boone?
No, I have not had the opportunity to do that.
So for the last 58 months or so, if she was being seen by the mental health treatment staff at the jail, you have not reviewed those records?
That's correct.
And they are overseen at the jail, in the Orange County Jail, by a psychiatrist. Are you aware or not?
If the person's level of mental health intervention deems them eligible for psychiatry, then they will.
And any diagnosis or lack of diagnosis that they have had during the course of the last 58 months, you are unaware of because you did not review the records.
That's right.
I don't have any other questions.
Any redirect examination?
No, Judge.
All right, thank you.
One question. Dr. Harper, I didn't ask you to review those records, did I?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, I believe you said it at the very beginning that I had submitted several letters on behalf of Ms. Boone, and she didn't hear that, but I wanted her to be made aware.
Yes, ma'am.
And that you don't actually read those letters into the record, but you did read them.
I have reviewed them. They're in my binder here. How many do I have? Yes. Give me a second, I can tell you. I have I have 6 handwritten letters. First one is 1 page, second one is 2 pages, third one is 1 page, fourth one is 2 pages, fifth one is 2 pages, sixth one is 2 pages. I have a typed letter from Diane Smith, the assistant chaplain. I have another typed letter from a Nicole Ray, a typed letter from a Stephanie L., a typed letter from Philip Paulson, an email from Lana Albert, 2 pages in length, and a 2-page email from a Danielle Parsons.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Judge, I would like to call Sarah Boone.
You may proceed.
She could take
Really?
Yes, please.
Great. Sure. All right, Sarah. Wow us.
Ms. Boone, you can be seated. You've been previously sworn. You may inquire, sir.
For the record, just state your name again.
Sarah Boone.
All right. Now, this is unlike a trial, so you're allowed to speak in a narrative form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter.
Oh,
that
good.
you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
Yes.
All right. Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of.
Hold on a second.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper.
Really?
And I didn't know how much I could say or how.
Really? You had problems putting
little
things
I
on paper?
should say.
Seriously?
So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I
Great.
feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial.
Okay.
And on top of what I have on paper, I have,
Unbreaded.
this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
Just the tip, though?
So I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
Okay, kids. Okay, kids. If you got popcorn, get your popcorn. If you're doing shots, break out the liquor. Buckle in, kids. We're doing this. Here we go.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Kentu Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold.
Okay. Oh, holy shit. Oh my God. Okay. All right.
In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom, and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable.
Wow.
Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter, as the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment.
I can't see.
And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together, for wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, ramming his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over, for breaking or removing the locks from all of the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe, including the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. For terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by leaving the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrape their remains off of the pavement, for kicking them off of the bed and throwing across the room because they were trying to protect me, for threatening to make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all of the bones in my face, like his brother Moses did to him after he kept seeing all of the bruises from George beating me, like all of the times their father beat their mother, for all of the drunken rages and fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartments during hunting expeditions after I had escaped, for drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself, then butting the end of the bottle in my face, giving me 2 black eyes and a bloody nose, for making me experience what it is to be sodomized, threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one piece, for threatening to burn down our townhome and set my car on fire because I got a job, for holding me hostage on weekends my son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave, for stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911 for an ambulance or seek help, where I nearly bled to death until I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested, for destroying my phone with a hammer because my son called, for me experiencing ever being arrested and after today, prison, for beating me almost blind, crushing my occipital lobe, for having me experience what it means to see stars like in the cartoons where a character has a tall lump on their head. I had that too, and many times, for dragging me downstairs by my hair in the middle of the night just to sit next to him, for taking my car driving drunk with my debit card to buy more alcohol while I slept, even after I kindly explained the importance of my car to take my son to school foremost, me to work, and he to his batterers intervention classes and probation officer meetings, where I would be forced to sit for hours in the parking lot waiting for him. For causing me so much trauma and pain, mentally, physically, emotionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. For destroying my reputation and integrity, for my M for murderer scarlet letter, not letting me feel safe to live, talk to other people, spend time.
The M for murderer scarlet letter is a nice touch. Continuing.
Time with my son, have a job, friendships, simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep.
Although the analogy is slightly off, because in the scarlet letter, in the end, everyone forgot what the letter A stood for. So people shouldn't remember the M stands for murderer. It should stand for what's something really good that starts with M. Merciful. Right? If we're going to really channel full bore scarlet letter over here. But okay, pressing on.
Soundly or comfortably. I forgive George for lying, for him trying in so many ways, so many times, to end me with his terrifying love. I also forgive the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was, capable of, and has done in the past, his history of violence and where he learned it, then to keep turning a blind eye when I would ask for help. All of his siblings, including Farrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of her head. For everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes how and when, but allowed and enabled. I forgive them for caring too late. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the time Sarah tried to, by asking for help, from all of us, and so many times. Another great contributor of my goal.
It's your fault that you didn't intervene sooner. It's your fault you didn't intervene sooner. It's because you guys didn't intervene that I was forced to do the suitcase thing. Okay. Great, moving on.
To social media with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance and hate, conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. My family law case is the new prey waiting to be picked apart and pillaged from me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case. It simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all of the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgment, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and others' misfortunes, accidents, and catastrophes. It's all over their hands and their keyboards. And even after all that's been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed, in my case, still no one knows me. In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, for being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home, and car. Having 20/20 hindsight, thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since. Also, of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. If not, the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then, now, and always love him for all of his cracks also. We made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Wow. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. In all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think of him every day and still speak to him when alone on the rec yard.
What?
I ask his forgiveness and that he looks for me at the gates of heaven so I can tell him how sorry I am. And
yeah.
endlessly, and that I never stopped loving him. In all of it and still. When I first came to jail, I put my mat under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughters, apologizing for asking for their forgiveness. But due to fear that my life or sons would be jeopardized, I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Please forgive me. Almost everything reminds me of him, seeing my stab wound every day especially. It truly reminds me that all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe because I do still love him, think of him, and miss his laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never. Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family.
I've never wanted the reaction of a psychologist more than I do right now. I need Dr. Barry or somebody in my life. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. This is the greatest allocution of all time. It's not even close. 12 out of 10. This is unfucking believable. And it's still going. And apparently this is the tip of the tip of the tip. Holy shit, dude.
Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, please forgive me. I graciously and humbly ask for consideration, for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us to move forward. My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the blood off of my face, and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding in what really happened and for how long, for second chances, repentance, and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, and still hope, always, to make their voices heard, to confidently walk with all of their scars on the outside and the inside.
Guys, I'm starting to think that I won't be able to fix her.
To help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and maltreatment before it's too late. There is always hope, and you can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, I ask this: would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year, if it were I who died?
What?
How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor.
What?
Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke oppressors, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, all-encompassing, protect the abused.
Ms. Boone, is that the end of your written?
I got nothing.
Statement.
Yes.
Now, gathering your thoughts, did you want to make an oral statement?
I do.
Oh, she has some more things to say. Oh, good.
Yes, please. My statement, my verbal statement is primarily to the Torres family, to the judge, to his daughters. I know you all know who I really am and that I did care for George and that I do still love George. I know you know that we had very many good days. And I take offense to the statement of being said that this is just for a moment.
I need a copy
Right
of
now, with me
that
here in the
script.
courtroom in front of you all, this
I need
is
to
just
do it
for a
myself.
moment.
We are definitely there is just no two ways about it. I'm gonna have to get a copy of this. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to do a dramatic rereading of this on my own for the channel at some point. Probably sooner rather than later. There's just no way. I need this in my life. I need this in my life. I feel like I have to do it. We're gonna definitely have a rereading of this thing.
But the moments before that, in order for me to be here, is endless. It's everlasting. The scars that I have on the inside, my outside scars have healed, except for my stab wound. But this has changed me as a person to see things differently and to understand things differently and to not be weak and just try to protect yourself and forever, regardless of the time that I may receive from today, I forever will have this experience. I forever will have George Torres with me in my heart, in my mind, my body, and my soul. As he and I used to say that we were one soul split into two bodies. This is not just for a moment. It may be for everyone in this courtroom, but when I leave, this is forever. When you all leave, that this is forever. This is forever for everyone here and those who it matters to most. I am one of those who will experience this forever. I'm sorry. Words do not define my shame and I don't know what else it is that I can say and convey to the Torres family how this happened. The ifs and whys and how really don't matter. It happened, and I'm sorry. Words cannot describe. And I hope that everyone can forgive me, the Torres family most of all, and his daughters, because I know what he meant to them. And I don't think that anybody ever understood what he meant to me and I to him. And I ask for forgiveness.
Ms. Boone, I have just one or two questions, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And you can speak on it if you want or not. But this is a unique case, and one of the reasons it's so unique is that you were in jail for 4.5 years prior to your trial. And I understand that when you were brought up as a child, that you did have some spirituality in your family, some church, some religion.
Always.
But I understand that you got away from that. Did you have a chance during the 4.5 years to look back at your spirituality?
Absolutely. You know, everyone supposes that this is one of the worst experiences of my life, and it's actually been one of my greatest.
Okay.
If I were not beaten to death, I was going to work myself to death on the outside, and I never had time to get back into my Bible and to pray and to be with the Lord.
What?
And I, being here incarcerated, have had time, of course, to get closer to God, to reacquaint myself to Him, and realize what it's all about. This is all temporary. And when I say temporary, I don't mean by being set free in jail or from prison or wherever else. It means being set free and temporary, meaning that you work for something higher, you work for God, that you strive for your crown to be placed upon your head by Jesus Christ by being said, "You have done well, my good and faithful servant."
What?
I've always tried to be a good and faithful servant. I was just a servant as opposed to doing all that I can when my family were alive and I was going through everything up to this point. I've become so much more closer to the Lord, and it's made me such a better person, and I hope that I am an example going forward of the Lord's light and can draw many people to me because of it.
Okay. Great.
Any follow-up, State?
No, I assume that was the final word.
Thank you. She can return back to council's table.
Yeah, I would ask a cross-examination question. As the state, do you have any questions? Fuck no, I have no questions. Are you fucking kidding me? I have questions. Shit. Oh my God. I need a cigarette. Holy shit.
Anything else from your side of the ledger, Mr. Owens?
No more witnesses, Judge, just arguments.
Okay. Anything else in rebuttal, or just proceed to argument, State?
Just proceed to argument.
Okay. All right. Once Ms. Booth's seated, you can proceed with your argument, either Mr. J or Mr. Cacciatore.
This, you know, I'm just a goddamn prophet. I'm a goddamn prophet. I called this stream the Sarah Boone Sentencing Spectacular. And holy shit, did I deliver? I had no fucking idea. Did I deliver? Holy shit. Best stream title ever. This is the greatest sentencing in the history of time. I've never seen anything like it, people. This is amazing.
You may proceed, sir.
Your Honor, I'm going to start my argument by what I anticipate Mr. Owens will bring up in his presentation regarding the plea offer in this case. That she was offered the resolution in this case of 15 years in the Department of Corrections to begin with. I think it's important, though, that...
What the fuck did I just watch? What the fuck did I just watch?
The entire circumstance of that plea offer is put forward. And there's something very critical to that. It's not just 15 years in the Department of Corrections. It's 15 years in the Department of Corrections, but it's predicated on something. And the consideration that it's predicated on is the defendant coming to court and accepting responsibility for her actions. For her coming to court and saying, I am responsible for George Torres's death, and I accept the punishment that comes with it. That consideration was never given in this case. And because that consideration was never given in this case, The offer of 15 years in no way represents what this case is worth, or what George Torres's life is worth. That is an offer predicated on a particular circumstance, a circumstance of a first-time defendant accepting responsibility and giving every benefit of the doubt in coming to court and saying that they are ready to be punished. Those conditions were never met. So then we turn to this case, and we turn to this crime, and we turn to the actions of the defendant of taking the law into her own hands and murdering George Torres. She has never shown remorse for that. She didn't show remorse for that here today. She again painted herself as the victim. She's the victim of George Torres. She recounted the litany of evil deeds and mistreatments that he perpetrated upon her. She's the victim of George Torres' family. She's the victim of the police. She's the victim of social media. It's all about Sarah Boone. Everything's about Sarah Boone and about how she is the victim. But Sarah Boone sentenced every one of George Torres' loved ones to a life sentence. Just like she sentenced George Torres when he was in that suitcase. George Torres lived out his last nightmarish circumstance in that suitcase, begging to be let out for several minutes, which undercuts any argument that this was somehow unsophisticated. There was ample time and opportunity over and over for her to do something different, but she went forward with taking the law into her own hands and ensuring that George Torres was never getting out of there, while she went up to bed and went to sleep for hours on end. She can't say that she was in duress for the same reason. She was in such duress of George Torres that she goes upstairs and goes to sleep for 11 hours. Your Honor, there's been nothing from the testimony of Dr. Harper either that establishes any type of diagnosis that would give this court a basis to downward depart. Dr. Harper has put blinders on to the fact that she has been incarcerated for 58 months. 58 months with the opportunity to receive mental health treatment, and the expert witness is absolutely incurious about what any of those records or diagnosis or anything that would have been there would have said. There is no valid basis for a downward departure in this case. She deserves a life sentence. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, response?
Just credit. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear our side, hear the witnesses, and review the letters on Sarah Boone's behalf. You know, we've all been here for this trial. We've all been here for other trials. We've all got some age on us. We've all got some life experience on us. And this is a unique case. This was a unique homicide. It was a unique death.
It's pretty unique.
And as we all know, a lot of these cases are not black and white. They're shades of gray.
Sure.
And these crimes don't occur in a vacuum. That there's generally a history, especially involving a domestic couple, a history that comes into play that must be explored. And a lot of what Sarah Boone testified to here today probably happened behind closed doors. And we all know that many times we do not know what happens behind closed doors between a man and a woman in their home, unless there is some reason for the neighbors or law enforcement or somebody else to get involved. And that happened in this case. And so gradually over time, as this event occurred, there was an investigation, and it was learned that there was a history of domestic violence involving these two parties. And what we learned was that physically there was violence, and there were photographs to establish that, as were introduced in the trial. And then there was testimony from experts, not only the defense expert, Dr. Harper, that Sarah Boone was the victim, and she was a victim of intimate partner violence, but coupled with the fact that the state's expert testified on the stand at the trial that Sarah Boone was a victim of intimate partner violence, that she suffered from this domestic or this battered spouse syndrome at the hands of George Torres. So there's two sides to it. And in a domestic violence situation like that, 95% of the women get out of that relationship. When violence starts to occur, they've either been raised a certain way, they have a certain self-esteem about themselves, where they refuse to put up with it, knowing that it's wrong, knowing that they can do better. But there is a small percentage throughout the country that, for whatever reason, mental health issues, addiction issues, whatever it is, it's complex. Financial reasons, children are involved, whatever. If you do any studying on it, there are circumstances where there is a group of women, predominantly women, it can happen to men, but majority of the time it's a woman that gets caught in this cycle of what we term as intimate partner violence. And heard the testimony about the cycle that occurs, that it's over a period of time and it repeats itself, and you go through these phases. And a lot of times the victim's not a great historian at trying to articulate it. She tried to do it here today. And I think on Sarah Boone's
definitely articulated
behalf,
a story.
she is a unique individual. She's got the personality that she's got.
That much is very true. No one denies that, my friend.
Harper, that a lot of that was formulated based on the way her mother was not on with her. The way that her father was the way that he was. The fact that she lost several relatives at a young age, and the trauma that can result. We heard from Dr. Harper that she did suffer from post-traumatic stress as it relates to that trauma in early childhood, and then again as it relates to the events that occurred between Mr. Torres and her. So it's complicated, Judge. It's complicated. Sure. But the jury has spoken.
That they have.
Sarah Boone was entitled under Florida law to present that defense, and she did. That testimony was allowed to be presented. She was allowed to testify. But the jury spoke. And so here we are today with you in a position to decide what is justice for Sarah Boone. and I don't know you that much other than our time together, but from what I know you try to do the right thing. And that's what we're asking the court to do.
A lot of us are asking the court to do that,
To have
to be quite
some
honest.
discernment, to have some understanding of the unique situation that Sarah Boone found herself in. And
Okay.
quite frankly, Judge, this all didn't occur behind closed doors. A lot of this was in the public eye. Mr. Torres had, I believe, 3 criminal cases before the courts of this county in which Sarah Boone was a victim. Mr. Torres was the accused. Those cases were dismissed. We know from the history of this domestic violence field that that's normal, that Sarah Boone every time either tried to bond him out or tried to get the case dismissed. At some point, somebody has to stop. Somebody has to say, wait, what's going on here? This keeps repeating. It's going to get worse. Something's going to happen. The system failed, Sarah Boone.
Yeah, it's definitely the system that's the problem here.
I ask for you to consider that.
Okay.
Circumstances surrounding that failure and what led us here today. I've asked the court to consider a downward departure. I believe you've gotten a copy of the score sheet.
Not since before trial.
Okay.
Is the score sheet stipulated to?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may approach. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Judge, I was provided that here today, and I believe, I can't remember the total number of months that it involves, but divided by 12, I think it's 20 months. 20.6 is the low end of the guidelines or something about.
It's 246.0 months based on the score sheet.
I did the calculation, but I believe that the low end is 20 years, 20.6 years state prison.
Yeah.
I believe is the low end.
Yeah.
20.5. Yes, sir.
And as the court knows, I believe it's on page 3, there are some aggravators that the court can consider in opposing the sentence, and then there are a list of mitigators that the court can consider in downward departing, meaning going lesser than the low end of the guidelines. And in the defendant's motion for downward departure, we mentioned, and I had Dr. Harper testify about 2 or 3 of the grounds, and the court needs to only find one to go below the guidelines. The capacity of the defendant to appreciate the criminal nature of her actions
Not
and
looking
to
real
perform
great.
said actions to the requirements of the
Yeah.
law were substantially impaired.
Not feeling that.
Judge, I don't have to reiterate the facts and circumstances surrounding this event.
Not really
You
feeling those
heard
factors right now.
the testimony, you heard the circumstances surrounding what happened and how it happened. I would ask that you consider that as a mitigator. To D, the defendant requires specialized treatment for a mental disorder that is not related to substance abuse or addiction and is amenable to treatment. I think it's fair to say here that we know that Sarah suffers from some mental health issues, objective mental health issues that have been opined by Dr. Harper and Dr. Werner. And you heard Dr. Harper testify about the post-traumatic stress disorder that she suffers from as it relates to this event, as it relates to her trauma that occurred in childhood. I think we heard from Dr. Werner. Dr. Werner testified that she suffered from the alcohol abuse disorder, as did Dr. Harper, but Dr. Werner also mentioned that she was not for sure about the anxiety disorder, whether it occurred prior to or because she was in the jail for the 4.5 years. However, she does require specialized treatment for the mental disorder, and she is amenable for treatment. And then third, the defendant acted under extreme duress, I think based on Sarah Boone's mindset as she testified to here today, and then you heard from the experts at the trial that when you get that anxious, about what happens. Sarah testified about they would have good days where there would be no drinking or very little drinking, and then there would be other days where there was heavy drinking, and generally when George Torres got highly intoxicated is when potentially things could get violent, and that she was constantly anxious about each day that she was with him. She loved him, obviously being in a cycle like that where you love someone but can't leave them. For whatever reason, George Torres couldn't leave Sarah Boone, and Sarah Boone couldn't leave George Torres, and it was a vicious cycle. But we believe that she qualifies under that it was under extreme duress at the time of this event. And lastly, the defense was committed in an unsophisticated manner, which was an isolated incident. Now, isolated, we know, Judge, that she had one prior event in which both of them were arrested. You heard her testimony that it was during an event. They ended up downstairs next to the washer and dryer, and that she was on the bottom, and she had used her hands to try to get him off, and she had tried to choke him, and there were some marks on him. And she was arrested for I think felony domestic violence battery, as well as he was arrested. I think a few days later, both of those charges were dismissed against either party. But she has no criminal conviction record. She has never been convicted of a crime other than that event. Now, I think that can be distinguished. So we believe that it was an unsophisticated manner. Obviously, the uniqueness of this event is unsophisticated. Anybody that would calculate that they were going to murder somebody by putting them in a suitcase and letting them spend the night, and the next morning, not try to
It may be
dispose of the body,
unsophisticated, but it's also torture.
not try to put the suitcase in a car and go dump the body,
So-
not try to dispose of the bat, do
guess.
something. She did nothing.
It's unsophisticated, but the manner of death
No
is an
attempts
aggravator. At least to me.
to tamper with evidence. No attempts after the fact to uncover any conduct whatsoever. No attempts to delete the videos from her phone. Here's my phone, voluntarily given that information. I
Yeah.
think that goes to the unsophisticated manner and unintentional death that occurred.
Okay.
I remember the first time I saw the suitcase video. And I know people have differing opinions. Tony Henderson, my colleague, had a different opinion when he saw it. But I remember the first time I saw the video, and I heard what she was saying to him. When he was saying, "Hey, Sarah, let me out. I can't breathe," or words to that effect. And the way that she was talking to him, and the statements that she gave to him, in my mind, what has he done to her? What has he done to her? Any loved one you see in a situation like that is going to run and let them out. So my thought was, obviously, they were both drinking. But what has he done to her? And I think it's telling
What has he done to her?
about what she'd endured. So it's not a clear-cut case, Judge. It's not black and white. There is some gray, and it's up to you to decide what's appropriate based on the court's, based on the jury's decision. But I would ask you to temper whatever justice that you think is appropriate with some mercy, and consider the fact that the state was willing to offer 15 years.
Yeah, under
Manslaughter.
very different circumstances,
The
which
lesser included
you might have
offense.
wanted to take that
Based on
deal.
the facts and circumstances that they were aware of prior to this trial. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any rebuttal by the state?
Yeah. I got nothing to say either. All right, Your Honor.
Has had the opportunity to review the evidence and testimony that was presented at trial, the victim impact statements presented here today, the statements of character witnesses, both orally and in writing, Dr. Harper's report and testimony, the defendant's testimony, pre-sentencing investigation, the arguments of the state and the arguments of the defense. Court pronounces sentence as follows. Ms. Boone, Court sentences you to life in the Department of Corrections with credit time served that Madam Clerk will provide to you momentarily. There are also court costs and costs of prosecution, which Madam Clerk will give you the totals of momentarily. Due to the court levying a life sentence, the court is inclined to liquidate those to a civil judgment unless I hear opposition from the state.
No opposition, Your Honor.
All right. Madam Clerk, if you could please give us the credit time served and the court costs, please.
See, this is I think more my style, right? The judge has nothing to say. He has nothing to say. He has nothing to add. He's just like taking note of everything there's to note. I pronounce sentence. It's as short as it can be. It's as short as it can be, and I like it. I like it. Just, I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to add. Just taking note of all the things there are to take note of. I pronounce life. Simple, to the point, clean. Love it.
9 months and 8 days, and the court costs are $418, a state prosecution fee of $100, a dirt fee of $50, and a PD. Oh, excuse me, you're not screwdriver.
I'm right.
So the total would come up to $618.
All right, ma'am, the court costs and costs of prosecution are
But don't worry, Sarah. Don't worry. You can always appeal the length of the sentence on the basis of abuse of discretion. Yeah.
$618. Those will be liquidated to a civil judgment. You will be given credit time served of 4 years, 9 months, and 8 days. You will have 30 days from today to appeal the judgment and sentence in writing.
Good luck.
If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you. I'm going to have the courtroom deputy provide you the paperwork. Because you've been incarcerated for the last 58 some odd months, the court is going to declare that you are indigent in this matter. I cannot appoint the public defender to represent you as they are conflicted out. Similarly, I cannot appoint the regional conflict counsel to represent you for the same reasons. The clerk will appoint an attorney from the conflict wheel who specializes in appellate litigation. And again, you'll have 30 days from today to appeal that judgment and sentence in writing. Do you have any questions for me? You will now be remanded into the custody of the Orange County Jail to transfer you to the Department of Corrections, and I wish you the best of luck. State, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, anything further? All right. Thank you all very much.
This is
Court's
the
off the record.
This is the greatest sentencing we have ever seen in the history of this channel, bar none. This is the greatest sentencing I've ever seen in my life. And I definitely need to watch the statement of Sarah Boone a couple times more. I don't know, maybe I need to break it down into shorts, break it down into parts. I don't know what I need to do. I need to watch it a couple more times and figure out what to do. But life without parole, with credit for time served, which is still alive. Any damages are liquidated for a future civil judgment, so yeah. Yeah. You want me to represent Sarah Boone? I don't know, ma'am. I don't know. I'm not sure I can do anything here. I'm not sure I can do anything. I could try. The only thing I can think to do is try to like appeal the issue with the removal of attorneys, and then like not giving this guy time. Try to appeal that issue is the only thing I can think to try to do. I'm still gonna get laughed at, but it's the only thing that makes any sense to my head. Why is Florida not order life with parole? Because Florida doesn't offer it. That's why. There's really no more answer to that than the answer. Why is Florida not offer it? Because Florida chooses not to offer it. They're a sovereign state and they don't give that option. There's no other answer other than that.
Okay. Can you just give me a heads up when they get her here?
Yeah, I got you.
I gotta go down and see her real quick. All right. Start.
There is no parole. There is no parole. It's the rest of her life. But I'm sure we're going to see many, many future letters from Sarah Boone. We can't appoint the public defender. We can't even appoint the backup public defender we normally appoint. So we're going to go to the conflict wheel. Oh my God. Melanie.
Wrenching. We watched the guilty plea, then we watched the heart-wrenching victim.
What are you watching, Melanie? Oh, I need to go over to Shoni. Oh my God, Melanie. The sentencing of Sarah Boone is the most, what is the right adjective here? The sentencing of Sarah Boone is the most, what? Most, I guess I'll put in quote marks, interesting, bizarre, sentencing I have ever seen. It is something to behold. Oh my God. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Oh, Melanie. I feel like there should be a warning. I feel like there should be like a Surgeon General's warning on that sentence. Oh my shit, I almost died. I almost died because of how much it was. Oh Lord. Oh my Lord. Osmosis? Is that a word I don't... What is that? Osmosis. Osmosis. What is that? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Look at Sarah's letter in her civil case with her ex-husband. I don't know if I can deal with any more Sarah Boone right now. I don't know if I can deal with any more of it right now. Oh, Lord. Oh, is there the DUI sentencing is right now? The DUI sentencing is right now. Are they doing sentencing hearing right now? In that case, I know there was a plea. Are they doing a sentencing hearing? Let's skip over there and see what's going on. Oh, legal vices. Oh, legal vices. Oh, yeah, no. What does Jeff think?
It sounds like life without parole. He said life, and from what I've been able to really quickly garner and glean from the interwebs, a life sentence in Florida means life without parole. And I'll check with Peter Tragos and Steve Gosney just to make sure that life means life. It seems
25
like
years. No. Okay.
Oh man, that's a good outcome.
Mario's getting gone all distorted.
But all right, so I'm. Welcome, Kurt. Yeah, I was just saying that I'm 55 years old. I've been doing the law thing for just about 30, and her statement was absolutely the worst statement I have ever seen from someone wanting to have mercy. That was the worst mitigating speech I have ever seen in my life. It was glorious. It's gonna be up in there in the Hall of Fame for the worst ways possible to try to try to get mercy. Jeez. You guys were so super cool and so super generous with
25
all
plus
this
15?
today. One thing we
I might
need to
watch
do-
that sentencing
those
tomorrow.
of you that
then.
know, we
I
unlocked
might
the
watch
emotional
sentencing
support
tomorrow
potato
for the
pig
DUI
dogs
thing.
at
So we'll
at
probably
the
watch
base
it
level,
tomorrow.
but also we have the second
probably
tier,
watch it
which is the
tomorrow.
punishment shot for me.
Because I was going to follow it anyway.
The
so
emotional support potato pig dogs
I'll probably
behind a
watch it.
paywall, which I just don't do. It's an achievement you unlock. I don't hold them behind paywalls, but you guys think I do. So you make me do the punishment shot at the second level. The third tier, we do an absinthe shot. The second tier shot is a shot of really, really bad whiskey as I clear off the bad whiskey from my shelf. The third tier is a shot of absinthe. We got to the fourth tier, which I don't even know what that is. We just the fourth tier happens so often, so infrequently that I don't know what it is. But because I have to work in like 3 hours, we can't do the punishment shot or the reward shot. We'll do that during the next stream on Tuesday morning U.S. time. So I'll do the makeup. I'll do the makeup shots, but we can't do them now because
how did Legal Vices react to?
Was the judge intending life, or did her speech do it? I think he was probably
Well, she said
intending
it.
life from the beginning, but if he wasn't, he certainly was going to give her life after that statement she gave. The no remorse.
Sarah Boone.
How did Legal Vices react?
A trial, so you're allowed to speak in a narrative form, as well as I understand you have taken some notes or written a letter that you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
No, our last Sarah Boone letter.
Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of
We don't care.
I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper, and I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on
enlighten us.
paper, I have, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my
He just said you can do that. Get on with
my
it.
statement.
Apology. And on my apology. All right, it should be good. Sorry for murder.
Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness.
No.
It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history.
So murdering your boifriend makes you better.
Because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. My wisdom and the thought of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing. God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy,
The damage caused by your victim?
ongoing
Sarah,
constitutional rights
don't do
violations,
this.
second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable self-compassion to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness.
Oh my God, it's even worse the second time around.
Grief and deeper heartache.
Holy shit.
Irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths or injustice. It doesn't matter. As the
Oh my
more broken
God.
you are, even though
It's
now
glorious.
different than before.
It's
you've become
glorious.
more outside.
You know, I feel like I I feel like I've seen into the Ark of the Covenant or something, right? I feel like I've seen into the Ark of the Covenant, and all I can think to myself is, it's glorious, right before my face starts melting off. It's so glorious. It's unbelievable. It's like don't look directly at the sun during the solar eclipse. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful right before my retinas get scarred. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did Emily D. Baker cover the sentencing hearing? If she did, I will watch that too. Because yeah, did she cover this? Oh, she's covering it right now. Oh, she's still streaming.
If parole is not an option, then life.
All right. Well, hold on one second. Emily D. Baker. All right, Emily. How did you respond to this? I gotta know, Emily. What did you say about this?
An edited version? An edited version of what?
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things.
Oh, I bet you did.
And I didn't really know how to put it on paper. And I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial.
Uh-huh.
And on top of what I have on paper, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
I bet it is.
So I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Just talk.
Kintu Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition,
We're starting with kintsugi? We're starting with, for all of you that were on the members only stream before things, we're starting with kintsugi. Well, don't worry, members only will be back. We're starting with kintsugi. That, holy shit. I'm backing up because I don't even know how she pronounced that.
apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Kintu Sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and overcome the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very...
I feel you, Emily. Yeah, we're about the same. Yeah. Oh, Emily.
She's gonna let the judge have it? She's gonna let the judge have it? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought your attorney said you were remorseful. I'm sorry. The word he was looking for was wrathful, rageful. She's so fucking pissed.
Emily, I feel you. We're one and the same.
Forgiveness is invaluable.
Okay. Well,
forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility, and considerable
Even Emily can't believe it.
to be set free from sorrow. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deeper heartache. Irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment,
Emily
untruth
is
or
like,
injustice. It
cannot
doesn't
fully
matter.
comprehend what's
more
happening
broken
right now. Emily is just in a state of disbelief. She can't believe what she's hearing. She can't believe this is real. She refuses to accept it. She refuses to accept any of this is happening. Look at Emily's eyes in this. Look at Emily's eyes. She is just like, what the actual, she's in a state of absolute disbelief, in a state of tranquil doubt. This is a woman who has heard some shit in her life and still can't believe what's happening right now. This is great.
You are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary.
What's the over-under on her ending her statement with "Thank you for coming to my TED Talk"? What are our odds?
Above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiven. And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My goal begins with George Torres, and every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened.
You think that's what Emily looks like when she's about to murder somebody? Because I think it might be. I think that might be the expression that Emily has right about the time she's about to kill you. Yeah.
Humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry. Every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destroy. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day, for ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes.
Oh, this is too fucking good. All right, who else covered this? I need more. Who else covered this bullshit? I need more reactions. Num. I need more reactions. Who else covered this bullshit today? Pretty Lies and Alibis. Did they have someone on stream? No, they just rebroadcast it. Did anyone else react to this thing? Law Talk with Mike? Was Law Talk on Mike on camera for this thing? It looks like he was on camera for part of it. Was he on camera for the critical moment? It looks like he was. All right, let's see what Law Talk with Mike had to say on this issue. Melanie did? Melanie reacted to this? Oh, well, then we're definitely got to go watch Melanie. I thought she was covering someone else. She covered Sarah Boone?
To the, I believe, just state your name again.
Sarah Boone.
All right. Now, this is unlike Stan.
Or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial.
Uh-huh.
And on top of what I have on paper, I have...
Unbreaded.
This is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. So I wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Kintu sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu sukuroi. In my wisdom, and with all of my repairs,
Sorry, that's
and now
funny.
and ongoing,
It was
God
very funny.
is, has been, and will
I almost
always be
died.
my artisan. All of my gold
I almost died.
is
It was so funny.
forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter, and
He's
overcome
making the toss.
the damage caused by George Torres.
Yeah, I feel you.
Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder, forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Forgiveness is not an attempt.
All right, looks like we're not going to get much more out of Mike. All right, how did Melanie Little respond to this bullshit? Shout out to Melanie Little, by the way. It looks like she did. All right. All right, let's go back and watch how Melanie Little responded to this. All right, Melanie, what you got for us?
You may inquire, sir.
This is so funny. It's funny. It's funny every time. It's funny every time. I know this is like the 5th or 6th time that we're watching it, and I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care. It hasn't stopped being funny yet. I'll let you know when it stops being funny. Holy shit. I want to see it again. I want to see it again.
Additionally, I had to be hospitalized more than once. There's, like I said,
One page.
Judge, I would like to call.
That was my fault because I had the volume turned down. Okay.
Taking some notes or written a letter that you want to read from, and then you want to speak to the court after that.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and get started?
This is actually an edited version of.
You may need to modulate your volume now.
I had a lot to say. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I didn't really know how to put it on paper. And I didn't know how much I could say or how little I should say. So what I have here is, like I said, an edited version. But I would like to read the more important parts that I feel that everyone should know that wasn't said in my actual trial. And on top of what I have on paper, I have, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the tip of the
I
tip.
wanted to read this, and then if I may, I would like to address everyone in my apology on top of my statement.
You may proceed, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Kintu sukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer.
Arts and
So rather than
crafts.
being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weakness, and imperfections.
Oh, Melanie's reaction's so subdued. I'm disappointed.
Every crack in a ceramic piece is a part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of Kintu Sukuroi. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs, then, now, and ongoing, God is, has been, and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has
All
held me
my
together,
gold is
helped me shine
forgiveness.
brighter,
That's a
and
nice
overcome
line.
the damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrels.
The damage caused by George Torres, I don't think that's a good way to start.
No, not really. Not particularly, Melanie. I
But
tend to
she's
agree.
a beautiful piece of ceramic. Okay. All right, you guys, we needed this. That was really heavy, what we just did.
What are you, a porcelain
But
doll?
what we just did by watching Jamie Lee Komorowski plead guilty was something that, in my mind, was so necessary that we had to see.
Yeah, we'll probably do the plea of her tomorrow, I think, because it was a case I was interested in following. We'll cover it tomorrow. I think that's going to conclude our coverage for now. I think we've concluded, we've watched everyone react to it. And how do you spell that? Kintu Sukuroi or whatever it's called. Does anyone know how to spell that in English, or whatever the equivalent would be using English characters? How do you spell that? Because I need to put it into a transcript so that I can recite it later. Got to get a t-shirt. We might do a t-shirt. Kintu Kintsukuru Ori. There's a coffee commercial about it. Nice. Kintsugi Sukuroi. How are we pronouncing that? Yeah. Kintsugi, also known as Kint Sukuroi. So she just said like the same word twice, right? It's Kintsugi or it's Kintsugi or Kint Sukuroi. Kinsuk Orai. Kintsugi Kinsuk Orai. Can Joe pardon her? No. Yeah, it has a Wikipedia page. I'm on the Wikipedia page as we speak right now. Yeah. It's one of the two. It's one of the two, not both. So she made a mistake because she used them both when it's one or the other. So it's either Kintsugi or Kinsuk Orai. Either golden joinery or golden repair. No hard R? There's no R in it at all. Well, no, there is. Orai. No, drop the R. Kinsuk Orai. Kinsuk Orai. I'll work on it. I'll work on my pronunciation for my script reading later. Well, my friends, I think that's going to conclude our stream. This truly was the Sarah Boone Spectacular. Never say that Uncivil did not deliver. Uncivil delivered. He delivered, man. He delivered in ways that he didn't even think were possible. He delivered on levels that were beyond any reasonable expectation. This was truly amazing. This was truly amazing. This was the greatest. This is by far and away the greatest sentencing I've ever seen. Absolute 12 out of 10. It is the greatest thing I've ever watched in my life. It's hard to know what my favorite part was between all the prison inmate witnesses and the sycophantic doctor and Sarah Boone herself. It's hard to know what part to like best. I think the part I like best is where the judge kept it simple, stupid, and just said, taking note of everything I sentence you to life. I think it's my favorite part. He kept it simple, stupid, and just said the thing and didn't say any other things. I think that's my favorite part. And I'm sure she's going to write many, many interesting letters for many, many years to come. Maybe someone will publish them into a book someday. Who can say? So I'm going to sign off for now. I've got some chili to make. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all's well. Cheers for now, my friends, and goodbye. Holy shit. Woo!